So another project I've got here on the workbench is this this level. So this level is about 27 inches long, so it's a little better than 2 foot. It says Universal Boring Machine Company, Hudson, Massachusetts, USA. And in quotes it says, "Where accuracy counts, we win." So I don't know much about this level, other than there's no vial in it. The bottom is in fairly rough condition, so it might be something for me to practice scraping on. Glue it up, scrape it into my granite plate. So if nothing else, it'll work for a good straight edge for scraping, but perhaps I could find a vial for it. A little bit of information I've seen around, it sounds like this might have had a 3 10,000ths per foot per division graduated vial in the center here. I could probably custom order one of them, but you know, it's probably going to be fairly costly to do so. I'll still research it. I've also got this Starrett number 199 master level, which has a vial in it with no water. Now I believe these vials for these levels right now are going somewhere in the neighborhood of, I think, $80 to $100 for the vial. This is a 5 10,000ths or half a 1,000th of an inch per foot graduated vial. And these are a 1 foot. This is a 1 foot master level. They call it a 1 foot master level. It's about 15 inches. So for what I do, I think half a thou per foot is fairly good per division. So if I can't find a 3 10,000ths per foot graduated cylinder, I might be able to get the half a thou per foot graduated vial for a Starrett master level and put it in here. I don't know how many of you are familiar with these Starrett levels, but we'd use these a lot in the toolmakers trade where I come from for setting up machines, leveling machines out, checking flatnesses of machine surfaces, things like that. We used to use a lot of these at one time when I started over 20 years ago. Now we're using a little more precision stuff. Electronic levels, metric levels, graduated at 10 microns per meter as well. There's the vial. You can see it's suspended on it's on 2 screws here. This one adjusted up and down, so that way you can zero the level out. This is a fairly old level. It's seen better days. You can see chips missing out of it. sure it's been dropped its fair share. So this is an adjustment screw. It sits in a spring down in here, and that's what allows you to adjust the position of the vial. Put that in there just for safekeeping, so you don't lose it. Casting on this doesn't seem to be in bad shape. There's a little bit of rust on it in spots when I got it. Of course, I got it non-working. I have no idea how long it's been since it's been serviced. This has been usable, I should say. I believe this vial, oh, now that it's out, you can actually see a crack in the center of that vial. I believe this is set in with plaster of Paris or something similar. So I'll set that back in here. Set it back in here accordingly. There's no reason to use any violence or anything on something like this. So I got to get this old vial out of here. I tried soaking a little bit of water just for a day. It didn't seem to do too much to it. It was broken anyway, so it really doesn't matter how we get this out of here. Well, got those out, drilled out to about ½ inch the diameter of the vials. I'm gonna go in there with a small hand scraper and clean them out. Open up to the full size. Clean up this mess. I'll bring you back. So I started scraping it out a little by hand here. I think it is just plaster. It's fairly soft. I got this long 19/32 drill here. Seems to do a good job just rotating it by hand, not even under power, just turning it in here. That seems to be cutting this plaster out fairly easy. That seems to have done an okay job cleaning that out. I'll go back in here now with a hand scraper and clean up any remnants, get it cleaned out and ready to put the new vial in place. So here's the two holders for our vials all cleaned up here. Take the end caps off this one. A little snug on there. Shouldn't have to use too much force on it though. Looks like it's a copper tube, so we'll put these off to the side here where they won't get lost. So I've got some vials. Picked these vials up off of, got one off of eBay, one off of a McMaster-Carr. They are Starrett, part number PT06473. You see there for the number 199 levels. Oh, the 199, that's the Starrett level that I'm working on. They're more precision than the typical machinist level you see guys work on. Those are 98s, I believe. These are a lot more precision vial. Half a thou per foot. Divisions on here. You see, so that'll fit right inside there. Now this is already this holder for the Starrett 199 master level is already white. What I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and I'll clean this up some before I put the level in there. This one being black and also a lot looser fit, I'm going to take a piece of this bright white, I believe this to be acid-free cardstock. I'll cut a piece and I'll put it down in the bottom of here to give some contrast behind that vial. I'll go ahead and I'll clean these up, get a piece of that cardstock cut out, and bring you back. Okay, so I got that white poster card stock in here. This tube is quite a bit bigger than the actual Starrett 199 level. So I had some of this sheet plastic laying around. I bought it for, I don't know, sound damping or something at one time. It's not real thick with the backing paper on it. With the backing paper on it, it's only about 20 thousandths thick, so it's probably 10 thousandths thick. So I stuck that to the face of the cardstock just to increase its thickness a little bit more, and it also give it a little resistance to any kind of oil or water that might get in there. You see, it's still a loose fit in there. I think it'll be good enough for what we're doing here. Now the Starrett one, said I've never done this before. I've seen some guys do similar stuff online, but not this exact level, so I'm kind of making this up as I go along. But this doesn't sit quite in the center of this either. It's kind of a loose fit, so what I'm going to do is I made these little, call them springs out of some small gauge copper wire. I think this is 18 gauge copper wire. And I'm going to put these in here to kind of center this in this retainer. Now this had plaster both on the ends and here. So what I might end up doing is with these wires in here, kind of centering this vial and this holder, maybe I'll put some plaster in the ends, and once it sets up, pull these wires out and then put some on this side too, just for some extra reinforcement. Try not to get so much plaster in that I can't get the wires out. So I think I'm about ready to mix up some plaster. This regular plaster of Paris. I think that'll work out good for this. I know for molding, I think you want to do like 6.5 parts of plaster to 10 parts of water or something like that by weight. But I'm just going to mix this kind of by eye, mix it kind of consistency for doing repairs on a plaster wall in a house or something like that. I'll get some of that mixed up and bring you back, and we'll pack these up. One interesting thing I noticed, I got one replacement vial brand new off McMaster card, but I had found another one used on eBay. Apparently it must be one of his new old stock, because it actually came packed in sawdust. So I don't know if they still do that or not. I just thought it was interesting. Okay, I mixed way too much plaster here, but I think I got it a fair consistency. I don't want it real thick. Let's start with this one here. Make sure the vial is somewhere about centered. I think I'm going to put some tape on them wires just to keep them wires in place. Should have done this before I mixed the plaster, but too late now. Okay, so that's 28, 30 seconds, 30. It's about vertical. Okay, so I'm going to do my best to pack the ends of this without causing too big of a mess here. See, that's fairly thick consistency I got there, so try to work it down next to the vial. Without being too neat. I don't know how quickly this plaster is going to set up at this consistency. Imagine it's going to go off pretty quick. Check your centering here. Slightly off center. Plaster's already going off. I have to mix a second batch for the other one. I have a lot of wasted here, I think. Okay, let's quick try to get this one done before this goes off. So 24. 22, 30 seconds. Looks like it's fairly centered. Now the plaster's already going off. I'm gonna have to mix another batch. Wasted this plaster. You know, mix up another batch. Maybe by the time I get the next batch mixed up, this one here will be set up enough I can pull the wires out and backfill that. It's kind of disappointing I wasted that plaster, but I guess it's not that expensive. Okay, I'll get another crack at this. While I was working on this plaster, I pulled these wires out of here. Let that set up for a minute. That plaster is really going off pretty quick, so I got this all centered up using my scale, my eyeballs. Work some plaster down into this. Got end caps to go on here, but right now I'm just worried about getting this plaster in here. Then I can always clean it up later. I gotta work this plaster in later. We can do that, but see, it's starting to get fairly thick already. Work it down in there. Looks like it's getting down in there. This plaster is starting to go off already too. It really goes off quick, especially when it's mixed this thick. Vibrating it in there. Okay, there you can see it's coming out. Coming out just a little here and it comes a little there, so I've got it worked in there pretty good. Take one last check, make sure it's on center, close to it. It's just slightly off. If I dare push it. "23 30 seconds, 22 30 seconds. It's gonna have to do. This plaster's setting up. Before it sets up completely, see if we can backfill this one. This is how it was originally, so of course done a little neater than I'm doing it here. But this plaster is just about ready to be unusable. Just like that, it's gone off. So I'm gonna have quite a bit of cleanup work to do, but at least I think it'll be fairly solid anyways. Yeah, you can see this. See, even this stuff I just wiped on here, it's getting fairly solid, so So we can clean that up before it completely sets. Not exactly a professional job, but I'm sure it's adequate. At least you don't see the ends of this vial while it's installed in the level. So I'm going to stop messing around with those. Let them fully set up here. See that plaster out of there. Let it fully set up here, and then I'll clean it up some more and put them back in the levels. So that didn't turn out too bad for me never having done it before. So it's pretty white in there. I should be able to see that bubble pretty well. Just put the end caps back on this. No big deal with that one. This side is missing some screws. I'm gonna have to source some screws for this side. It's got some interesting side adjustments on it. One for the Starrett level turns out to a little sloppier than it was factory, but it's, again, I think it's serviceable. So this is a Starrett 199. We call it a master level. This one I got because it had lived such a hard life, had no water in it. Obviously it's been dropped at one point or another. I've gone ahead and I've glued this back together with some epoxy. A little bit of cleanup work to do on that. See where it's chipped out. It's missing a cover screw. Grab a screwdriver. So the bottom out's in fair shape. I have a little rust mark here and there I gotta clean up. It sits pretty flat on my granite plate, so I think it'll be pretty good. You see what just fell out of there? Missing screw. How about that? So let's go ahead and mount this back in here. Not too big of a deal. This is fit to only made to go in one direction. This side has got a spring on it to keep some tension on it. Spring actually goes on the bottom side of it, and that allows it to adjust up and down and calibrate the level. I'm gonna make sure it's clean inside there. You see it can only go on in one direction. The holes are different sizes, so the adjustment fits in this side but not that side, so it can only go together one direction. It is, this base is slotted on the bottom to give it some small adjustment, I guess. Let's place this spring down in here.
Actually, no, let's do it this way. Let's put the adjustment screw in there, spring on here, and set this whole thing down in place. See if we can find a hole or not. There it is.
Get that started, just put a little tension on it. Put the anchor screw down on the other side, whatever the proper name is for it. And I'll drop it in there. I don't think I need to make anything super tight in here, just snug enough that it's not going to come apart. It's not a machine after all. Shouldn't be dropping this thing. Obviously the bench is nowhere near being level, so I'll wait to adjust that until I get it on a flat surface. I'll calibrate this, but put this cover on here. So this cover's seen some better days. Missing some chunks out of it. It was in many pieces when I got it, put it back together, so take a level that was probably destined to be thrown away where it was at and put it back in service here at my shop. Not that I have too much calls for a level, but I do have to check my machines every now and then, and this will be a fairly precision way of doing it. Okay, there's that level. Give it a little light. A little spritz just to rust proof it. There, it's ready for calibration and to be put back into use. So that's that level, saved from the scrap pile. Now for this universal boring machine level. This, I have a feeling, is going to become a subject of another video. So the little bit that I can find out about this is not much, so I think it was a different color. I don't know if I care for the red color on this anyways, but so this might just be a temporary installation. I might be taking this back apart and repainting this. Scraping the bottom of it. But there's the vial installed. That'll do for now, I think, for this old level. The bottom, I don't know how well that's going to show up in the picture here. Somebody's gone and flaked it, but it was pretty wore before that was done. I don't think it's been scraped. Somebody just flaked it just to make it look pretty. So what I'm going to do is I'll end up putting this on my granite and giving it a rub, see how flat it is, and I'll probably scrape this into flatness. But that's going to have to be another subject, another video for another time. I quite don't have my scraping equipment set up. I do have an old power scraper, an old power flaker, but my my sharpener for my bits still is not complete yet. I've sourced some parts for that. So that'll be a project for a future day. So hopefully somebody found the information in this useful and use this to fix your own levels. Until next time.